Canada, a country of vast space, endless lakes, colorful plastic monopoly money you can actually use, and most importantly, at least for this video, some really interesting and unique foods. I mean, just look at these amazing offerings. Butter tarts, ketchup chips, Timbits, and bagged milk. Yeah, that's right, milk comes in bags here. Canadians, or at least Canadians residing in the eastern parts of Canada, have been basically living in the future for decades, enjoying this masterpiece of packaging engineering. And it's possibly the ultimate way to buy and drink milk. So I took a deep dive online to track down the story of the milk bag. Let's get into it. With the advent of refrigeration, Canadians, like people from many other countries, were supplied their milk from milkmen who went door to door to deliver glass bottles of milk to people's doorsteps. Do you ever feel like maybe we've gone backwards in time in terms of convenience for some of these things? Anyway, these bottles worked pretty well. They could be cleaned and reused, but they were also heavy and could break. Starting around 1915, companies started trying out different types of lightweight milk cartons, and by the mid-1960s, we got the Tetra Pak and the plastic milk jug. We had reached the pinnacle of milk storage and distribution, or so we thought. So naive. In 1967, which happens to be Canada's 100th birthday by the way, the chemical company DuPont came out with the ultimate version of milk packaging. The thin polyethylene bags called pillow pouches. And luckily the name didn't stick around as pillow pouches, and now Canadians just call them milk bags. DuPont started testing these bags in collaboration with Guaranteed Pure Milk Company in both Montreal and Vancouver. The event which pushed Canada fatefully to more full adoption of bagged milk was when Canada moved away from freedom units and adopted the metric system. This occurred between 1970 and 1985. This unit change presented a problem. Changing glass milk bottle sizes from imperial quarts to liters would be costly, as both the bottles and machinery that managed them would need to change. But it was much cheaper to change the size of milk bags to the new system instead. These could be easily resized. So milk bags were sized at 1.3 liters, and 3 of them came in a bigger bag, which meant that you would buy 4 liters total when you went to the store. However, since then, the price of hard plastic milk jugs have become much cheaper, and the government has relaxed their laws on metric measurements. So hard plastic milk jugs have become more popular, and in some places have replaced the milk bag, such as in the Western Canadian provinces. But Ontario has put up a huge defense against the spread of inferior hard plastic milk jugs. Provincial regulation restricted the sale of more than 1 pint, or 473 milliliters, good job at metric, Ontario, in containers other than bags or coated paper containers, like Tetra Paks. There was one way around it though. If retailers wanted to sell milk in large 4-liter plastic jugs, they were required to implement a deposit or recycling system, which few companies bothered to actually do. This means that for years, bagged milk was basically the only way you could get large quantities of milk in Ontario. But this Ontario regulation was amended in 2018. But consumers are used to bagged milk in Ontario, and it's still what is most common today. In Quebec and the eastern provinces, milk is sold in both bags and jugs. The average Canadian drinks around 60 liters, or about 46.2 bags, of milk per year. It's estimated that half of Canadians and 75 to 85% of Ontarians buy their milk in bags. But in order to use these bags of milk, some specialized equipment is needed. This is a common sight in many Canadian homes, the humble milk pitcher. You put the bag of milk in here, and then you have to cut the top corner that is furthest from the handle for pouring. You can either carefully use a knife or scissors to do this. But another and superior tool exists for this task, the Snippit. This is basically a blade hidden away in a plastic layer that protects people from cutting themselves. The inventor created it in 1978 after having a nightmare of his son injuring himself with a pair of scissors. These little things have a clip for attaching to a milk pitcher, or have a magnet for attaching to the fridge, and they're still sold today. So is the milk bag better for the environment? A recent journal article called Environmental Impact Assessment of Milk Packaging in Canada explores this. The writers found that the greatest energy consumption, as well as greenhouse gas emissions, came from the production of the plastics or papers of a milk container, rather than the transportation or disposal. And milk bags require less energy to produce, as they just use much less material. They weigh only 20 to 30% compared to jugs or cartons that hold the same volume of milk. The overall findings from the paper were this. Bags use only 20 to 30% as much energy compared to other milk containers. Milk bags use about 2% compared to cartons or 40% compared to jugs as much water. And milk bags produce only 20 to 40% of the greenhouse gases compared to other milk containers. The researchers also found that even if the milk bags are disposed in a landfill or incinerated, and the plastic jugs or cartons are fully recycled, bags still have the lowest environmental impact. This is very important to know, because I for one assumed that bagged milk could just be harder on the environment because the plastic used in them is not easily recycled. So according to this paper, milk bags are much better for the environment than other methods of milk packaging. Switching from jugs or cartons to bags would save the equivalent weekly energy of one load of laundry in a clothes dryer. You can also find ways to reuse the milk bags before throwing them out as well. They can be used for packing lunches, portioning food for the freezer, as an icing bag, and many other uses. So if you're in a place with bagged milk, go out and buy with confidence, knowing, as you always did, that it's the superior method of milk delivery. If you liked this video and want to see more like it, please like and subscribe. And while you're here, there's a couple of other videos on screen that you can check out on some pretty interesting topics. Thanks, see you next time.